Let's see. Your channel. I'm live now. Seems like I got it working. Okay. Hopefully you guys, I'll stay here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put the chat in there. We're going to put in live chat. Okay. Kind of what I was going over is, and I'm going to pull up my notes here. DRV, before I was completely derailed on this, and I'll keep an eye on YouTube, but before I was completely derailed, DRV, you have this 47, 46. It kind of ticks up there. It's going to get you out probably in the morning at around 60. Now, you could have gotten out here at about 67, 68, where we started to see that little dovetail there. Great trade if you got in on it. Fantastic trade. I'll kind of go down the charts that I went over this morning on the podcast, which I just uploaded if you want to listen to it. I thought it was a pretty good podcast because you have a ton of stocks. We're in either a bear market bounce or a full-on bull market, depending on who you talk to. But EQT is one. It's an energy company that specializes in natural gas here in the U.S. 41.74, you're trading at 43.79, 43.80. Great company, great management, great trade in my mind. I think you get back up to that 45 level. I think you get your money back. LNG, Cheniere Corporation. This is one that I've been touting when it dipped under 150. I think when it was trading at 140, I said, hey, you want to trade this one to 150. And then once it got above 150, I said anything below 150 you want to buy. We had a buy-in here at 164. You're trading at 169. It is up again today. This is a fantastic, fantastic company giving back a lot of money. Let's look at they just raised their dividend. Look at that S&P heat map. Dividend 0.94, but they've had a bunch of special dividends that they've given out. I think a $15 dividend, something like 10% or something like that. Talk about Cheniere broadcast. We can't rule out sabotage, massive drain, damage to the Nord Stream pipeline. Again, Nord Stream's going down. Cheniere basically takes American liquid natural gas and ships it over to Europe and sells it for more. 170.17 is where they've got it here. Oof. But yeah, you can see it's trading on a good basis here. Another one that we talked about as a final trade yesterday was Uber. And Uber is one that I like Kashikari, who's their CEO. I like his take is that they want to own the last mile. They want to own the last mile of any kind of delivery. So they got Uber Freight, they've got Uber Eats, they've got Uber Groceries, they've got Uber, hey, let me call an Uber to get me to the airport. By the way, if you're watching, hit the chat button too. Hit the like button as well. I see you guys aren't hitting the like button. But you can see here, Uber has not crossed up on the MACD. This is the MACD right here. I'll expand it out. It's going to. So in this morning, it will give us, as long as the market continues to go up, and it is skyrocketing up, we should see a MACD cross up here, and we should see a buy signal in the algorithm. With those gaps kind of up here around 33, around 30, I think you could ride this to at least 30 from 28, which is a 10% move, which is what we're typically looking for. Let's look at yesterday's big movers as far as energy. MRO, which is Marathon. This one has a good dividend. It's got some gaps up above it. The algorithm triggered a couple of days ago. And if you had gotten in, it would have been great. You've got some gaps up here. Here at 22.82 was the buy. If you got in on that one, it's already at 25.86. My guess is that you're probably moving up to this 28 range on this current, the current run that we're on. So if you want to trade it from 25 to 28, there's your 10%. The earnings are coming up here on November 2nd. So you've got an opportunity to get in on this one. I like that one. My favorite in the energy space is Devon. They have a 7.8% dividend. It is up almost 4% today at 67.88. Under 60, buy it all day long. Over 60, once it loses its confirmation, you sell it. I have not been great at selling it, but you can see the algorithm here. A couple days ago on September 30th, gave us a buy at $60.69. You can see the algorithm right there. You've already made your 10% at 67, just probably within the last 2 days. You do have some gaps here down below, so it is probably going to pull back at some point in time. You have your earnings coming out November 1st. Expect some type of dividend increase, some type of measurement. This gets you great access to all of energy, natural gas and oil. ConocoPhillips, which is COP. This is a great one. God, I wish you could. I got to make sure you can hear me. Yep. Okay, you can hear me. COP, ConocoPhillips, you can see right here you've got this bottom button hook. 106.93, you're at 112. I think you closed at like 109, so it wasn't up big yesterday, but you've got this 112. My guess is that you're probably going to hit this support at 119, which means you could still trade it. It won't be your 10%, but you could still trade it because, again, OPEC is going to probably cut their oil output tomorrow. I think it's Wednesday they meet. And that's a great one to have. Occidental, one that I didn't bring up and I have to bring up is Pioneer Resources, PXD. Occidental has a 5-6% dividend. This is Warren Buffett's favorite. I went over in the podcast that he's still buying this. As of September 29th, I think he bought another 100 million shares. You only have a 0.81% dividend. God, it's not a great dividend, but I think you're going to see an increase in the dividend. 61 is your buy-in. You're at 65 today. I'll probably start pulling this one out. When it gets to about 70 is probably when I'll start pulling it out. But Occidental's a great one. PXT that I didn't go over on the podcast is Pioneer Natural Resources. This is a great one. Let's see where the algorithm got you in it. The algorithm got you in at 214. And you can see that move up. You're at 237 right now. Great trade on this one. I've been screaming, get back into energy. Look at the titles of the podcast. CVX, anything under 150, you buy this one all day long. Anything over 150, you sell it once it loses its confirmation. You're at 155. I fully expect this to get back into the 160, so you could trade it. My guess is that you get back close to this 170 before the earnings. And the earnings are coming up October 27th, so you have a few weeks on that one. XOM, which I personally own. This is probably my largest position in energy, even though I think Devon is a much better energy company. Exxon was trading in June of last year at 40. And so I bought it around there. I think, between 37 and 45 were my lots. 88.97 is the buy-in. I think you're going back to 100 on this. So if you want a 7% move, if you don't get 100, you've got an earnings date here that might have a pop. But you also have a pretty good dividend on this one. Let's look at the dividend on Exxon. I think it's like Chevron. It's like 3 point something. 3.83. So great dividend, great stock. I like it. A long-term hold that came up on scans today, KO, which is Coca-Cola. I personally own this one. Anything under 60 on this one, you can enter in for a long-term buy because I think you're going back to the 65 realm. This one has earnings coming up here on October 24th. 56.66 was the buy-in today. You're trading at 57.43. It's up almost 2% today. This has a great dividend. It's a great long time. Just buy and hold it. CF, which is a fertilizer company, they're moving significantly over the past couple of days on perhaps food shortage issues. The big issue with CF and why they've been crashing down is because they use natural gas in order to create fertilizer. You had a buy-in here at 98.57 back on September 28th. You're at 103 right now. The algorithm is right. Look at that gap up here at 110. My guess is if we continue in this market, that gap at 110 gets filled. Simple as that. Tesla, they had 2 red candles yesterday, which is not a very bullish signal, but they've turned around. In my mind, I think you want this between 245 and 250. I think that 253, if you're entering in your first position, I think you can buy a small lot. But if you're entering in to fill a position, like I sold out half my position before, I think this 253 is a bit expensive. I would probably wait for it to come down. Again, you've got a green candle here in the morning. I think if we see a green candle in the afternoon, I might raise my 245 quote unquote want into about 250. But you can see yesterday we covered this gap that I've been talking about. That gap right there between 249 and 257, that gap has been covered. So I with the RSI down at 33, that MACD kind of down at that point. If the market's going up, I think you've got to buy this one going into earnings. Earnings will probably be a shit show. October 19th is the earnings. The reason I say it's going to be a shit show is because there is probably, Elon has been hinting at this, that inflation has been taking over, that some of the currency headwinds will probably hit Tesla in a big way. He is probably saving a bunch of money in Europe, but he's probably spending a bunch of money in Europe as well. I talked about Boyle being a good, if you wanted to actually play oil or natural gas into the OPEC meetings, I would probably look at UCO over Boyle. Boyle has been trending down, and it doesn't have a MACD cross up here, but it does have, oh man, come on, run. Why did it pull up BOR, Boyle? We don't want BORF. We want Boyle. But Boyle here, under 50, I think is a good buy rate. I think you'll get under 50. 53.02 was the buy-in here. You have a gap here between 87 and 90, which at some point is going to get filled. You've got the RSI down at about 29. So I think you're going to move back up on Boyle. But if you wanted to play UCO ahead of the OPEC meeting, I think that's probably your best bet over any other energy ETF. I think UCO will see a bounce in this one. See how many gaps you've got up here to fill. You've been riding it down. Anything under 30, I think you can easily get to 33 by the time the OPEC meeting is done. Michael Burry is now bullish. FNGR, APRN, SURG, those are all stocks that Charlie had mentioned. FNGR, you can see it's going to be way up today. Google, GOOG, because we buy the one without the voting rights, because Sergey and Larry have all the voting rights, so they don't matter. And GOOG is what Google buys back when they do buy back stock. Also, when you look at GOOG versus GOOGL, GOOG is performing 1% better this year. So the buy-in at 100, you're at 102. If you want a long-term buy, get in on this one. Again, I think from a long-term buy perspective, that's a great entry point. Apple, anything under, Google, under 100, great entry point. Tesla, under 250, great entry point. In fact, ARK bought 132,000 shares of Tesla yesterday. So she's back to being bullish on that one. It's undervalued. Apple, Anything under 140 on this one, I think is a great entry point. 145, I don't think you're upset about. You had this entry at 147. In my mind, I think you're getting another MACD cross up here, probably at about the 145 range. So that's a great one. Microsoft, anything under 240 is probably your entry point. It's a great entry point. It has a MACD cross up. I think it was 230 when I looked at it. 239.98. So anything under 240 is a great price. You see that button hook right there. It's kind of coming up. The MACD is crossing way down. The RSI has picked up significantly at 59. So it's going to get overbought here probably soon. But you have earnings coming up. My guess is they're going to be hurt by currency, everything else. SOXL is one. This is the long levered 3 times chip makers ETF. So it's the semiconductors. It's a bull. You can see you've got significant gaps up here that probably need to be filled because this is just it's been a bad year for chips. The algorithm average win is 21%, but you do only win 31% of the times. The buy-in here was at 10.05. You're at 10.84. So it's been going really, really well. Goldman Sachs, anything under 300. I think it's over 300. Don't buy it. I think you'll have another chance. But at 310, it's iffy if you want to really buy it. You see this gap up here between 338 and 342. I think if you buy down here, remember, look at that buy at 298, but you're at 309 right now. I don't know, that gap up there is looking pretty good to be filled. It's got to get above that 200-day in order to do it. The 200-day will probably provide some resistance level to get back up there. We talked about Micron a few weeks ago. Under 50, maybe just last week under 50. This is a great opportunity to get into this company under 50. The algorithm had you buy, I think it was at 49 or is it 48? Let's see. 49.90 right there on September 28th. And we're at 53 right now. So you've almost got your 10% in just a few days. But Micron announced a $100 billion plant to be built in upstate New York. Now, the scans that we had Disney under $100, buy it all day long. You can wait for it to go down to 95. You can wait for it to go down to 89. But anything under 100, buy it. The algorithm says buy at 97.10. You're at 99.87. They just announced that they are removing their vaccine mandate for cruises. The parks are absolutely filled. They can't get enough workers, blah, blah, blah. They're having the same problems that every other organization in the U.S. is having, but it's a mainstay. They're going to continue to kill it. Boeing is one that just had a cross up as well. 126.04, you're at 130. This is one I think you can probably buy this one. Planes are absolutely filled. They're selling their planes that China didn't buy on the open market. They'll start delivering them to Europe and to Africa and to other manufacturers airlines that need them. So Boeing is one. IBM I went over. I'm not a big fan of this one. It's a cloud play. If you want boring, you can buy it. This doesn't make you a ton of money. There's a lot of traders that really like this one. It's kind of not going to make you a ton of money, but it's not going to lose you a ton of money either. Your average win is 3.93%. Your wins 38%. You lose 2% on the algorithm. You lose 2% buying and holding. It's just boring. JP Morgan, we talked about Goldman Sachs and some of the other financials that are doing really, really well. JP Morgan is one that just had a cross up at 121.51. 107.72. It just took some time to get out from Boeing. 107.72. and you're trading at 111. That gap up here, again, just like Goldman Sachs, that gap up here around 120 is probably looking pretty good to fill. Again, these are completely oversold stocks, so I would expect them to bounce back fairly quickly. We talked about Coke, Morgan Stanley, to keep on the financials picture. Morgan Stanley just took over E-Trade, which was a horrible brokerage firm for me. I didn't like them. You couldn't trade fractional shares. There were some real issues with E-Trade. They took them over. They're going to make them a very good retail bank. And the algorithm says buy at $80.36. You're already up at 83. But kind of like we said with the financials, you've got a gap up here around 88 to 90. So my guess is that you move up that way. Again, that's a 10% move up. So if you like the financials and you want that one, go at it. Another financial that has a MACD cross up is Bank of America. Kind of like I started this live video, you got a ton of opportunities here on the scans. And it looks like we're in this bounce up market where it should continue. 3109 and you're at 32.21. I said buy Bank of America under 30. Still say that's a fantastic buy, and you should be able to get at least 10% on that one. But you got this gap up here around 35. So if you buy at 32, where you're at right now, and you get to 35, you still got your 10%. If you want to hold on to it, I don't think Bank of America is a bad long-term buy and hold. Warren Buffett loves Bank of America just as much as I do. Shopify, which was my April embarrassment, where I said, hey, Shopify, 100%. It's been up. It hasn't been a great stock to buy and hold at all. You did have a cross up here under 30. It is trading just above 30. 27.74 was the buy-in, but it is up significantly today at about $30. So you might have missed that one. I'm not super excited about it, but I own it personally. I own it, I think, closer to $70 actual, or I'm sorry, $40 actual buy. Qualcomm, which is a podcast favorite because great chips, 5G. They have to renegotiate their deal with Apple for 5G chips. It's got a great PE compared to all the other chip companies, and it's got a dividend on top of that. Super well-run company, $117 at the buy-in. It's trading at $121. I don't think 117, but again, I've said all of these buys that you've seen on the way down, I don't think it can go lower. I don't think it can go lower. Well, it can go lower. Staying with financials, Citibank is one that I went over. And this is one that, again, their earnings are coming up. You see these gaps up here that probably could get filled at 117, or I'm sorry, where's the buy-in? 42.55. You're trading at 44.15. I think this bottom gap of 49, if they come out with some type of revisionist earnings, I think that's probably a pretty good sign there. You do have a quick turnaround. It's not enough time. October 13th are the earnings. They may come out. They're going to be significant currency headwinds for this one. And Credit Suisse this one could get tied up in the Credit Suisse thing. Hype play of Ford. Ford is Jim Cramer's hype play because Jim Farley texts him back. Elon does not. Mary Barra, every now and then she'll text him back. But he's obsessed with Jim Farley. If you've driven in a Ford Lightning, it looks like a great truck. I'm telling you, it looks like a great truck. The other thing I like about Ford is they take their charging network seriously. They have Ford Charging Angels who go out there. Ford allows their customers to give them feedback on Electrify America stations that are not working. Electrify America is a horribly, horribly run company, and that's the reason electric cars will fail in this country is because of that company. But you can see 1147 is the buy-in. You're at 1229. I think you could ride this to probably these gaps up here in the 13 to 14 range, which would get you a nice 10% move. I think you could. Speaking of 10% moves, look at this one that we brought up. I think I brought it up yesterday. Cleveland Cliffs. It had a cross up a couple of days ago, and it's been kind of flying ever since. You have a cross up here. Let's see. I'm going to pull this one up. No, I want it down. We want to shrink it. 1374 on September 28th. You're at 1525. What's that? $1.30? $1.40? There's your 10%. Cleveland Cliffs, Iron Ore Company. That's everything that I wanted to go over. So, did I go over Tesla? Just in case I didn't go over Tesla. I'm pretty sure I did. But Tesla's one that I'm pretty bullish on. Chat publicly. I know there's been a bunch of people in and out. Hopefully you guys can see me. I can see myself. So I'll end this one. I think I've been streaming for about a half hour. That's what I did on the podcast. Listen to the podcast. Hit me up below. You have some links below. I'm on the socials, Twitter. I posted some great stuff on Twitter earlier. Instagram. Hit me up on Instagram with any questions that you have. Again, we're in this bull rally, almost 3% on pretty much everything. God. Hopefully. The job market looks weaker, which is good news. So